All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to talk about Killian Hayes. Craig has some thoughts on him. A
Yeah,
lot of eyes on him. He was the first draft pick from Troy Weaver and the rebuild. Let's go, Killian's kind of had an up
restore.
and down career. So we're going to see what Craig has to think. And before we start the video, if you're not subscribed, hit subscribe
Yeah, do it.
and also comment below whether you agree or disagree what Craig is about to say. Craig, thoughts on
Just
Killian Hayes right now?
be nice if you disagree. Look,
Yeah.
here's the thing. Killian Hayes has been doing some things lately that we all can agree are encouraging. And if you don't think he has, then you haven't watched recent games. I'm going to go back to the stat muse here. And this is over the last 8 games. He's putting up 12.5 points, 4.5 boards, 4.5 assists. And I know those don't seem like huge numbers, but if you were to say 12.5 points, if you were to say that was his season before the season started, I think all of us would be happy with that. But in this, you see a couple of explosions. The other night against OKC, he went for 26, 7 boards, 8 assists. Now, the interesting part of this game is that Cade Cunningham only played 7 minutes. So Killian Hayes just went straight aggressive trying to score, and he put up a stat line that looked mighty similar to what Cade Cunningham has been doing, minus the 2 for 9 from 3. He still can't shoot very well, but he was the engine that stirred the drink. Now, I know what you're thinking, like, hey, anybody can have a good 1 week stretch, right? But I took the last 8 games for a reason, and it's kind of a unique one, and this is what I'm going to use to make my point. The last 8 games for Killian were games like 83 through 91 of his career. So what that means is what we're seeing from Killian Hayes right now, because of the injuries, because of the shortened season with COVID, all that kind of stuff, we're seeing the last 8 games. We're seeing what he would be after his rookie year. He's now just hitting what would be his second year, and we only have a couple games left, and now he's going to be having a whole off season to please work on that busted 3-point jump shot, right? But the other things are starting to be intriguing. He's looking to score, Chris. Like, he's actually trying to score, and it's changing the offense.
Well, he's 20, and
Yeah.
he's 20, and like you said, with COVID, rookie, 20, bad team, tears his hip. Like, boy,
There's the labrum.
yeah, it's okay to say, like, hey, he's just now figuring, just now kind of getting his legs.
Well, and remember when they were drafted, and I understand what you could be saying. Well, what about Sadiq Bey? Look, Sadiq Bey came into this league much more polished than Killian Hayes. We all knew Killian was going to be a project. We all knew that we drafted him at 7 thinking what he could be, not what he was. If we wanted to draft what he was, we would have drafted Tyrese Halliburton. Like, that's what we would have done, because he was the ready-made project. Or ready-made player, not a project. Killian was a project. He was 19 years old. And if you remember what that draft looked like, they get drafted, and like a week later, they're basically playing an NBA Summer League. And then a month or 2 after that, they're playing. Like,
That's right.
it was just boom, 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 boom. They had no time to really prepare for their rookie years. It's almost unfair to the really young players like Killian Hayes, who just played overseas his whole life.
So you're still very high on him, and not
Yeah.
high on him, but you're still think there's a ceiling there that, man, we probably maybe haven't even touched yet.
Oh, we haven't touched. So here's what I'm saying for Killian Hayes. He is a guy that here's what he does. He plays very good defense. I mean, very good. Like, it's not like, okay, he's an adequate defender at the point guard position. No, he's above average to good. Like, I would say good to really good. So we know he does that. He sees the floor well. He has great vision, and he rebounds the ball at a pretty good clip. That's for sure at a guard. And he can guard multiple positions because of his size at 6'5", almost 220.
Yeah.
So when you look at that, the one chink in his armor right now, because over the last 8 to 10 games, like we said, he's been scoring inside at an efficient rate for a guard. The chink in his armor is he can't shoot threes. Like, Rajon Rondo made a living doing those things. A ton of point guards have made a living doing those things. Marcus Smart has made a living doing it, and he's not even that good of a passer over in Boston. So, like, I see when you say the ceiling is high, I'm like, yeah, he can play next to Cade. They're starting to actually start them at the same time, which is really exciting. But when we look at this, like, I'm telling you, even if we don't draft a guard in the with our first pick, like, I think Killian is getting to the point with continued progression that it would be a good backcourt combo, him and Cade Cunningham. Like, it would be really good, and he would not be a horrible player. I think he's getting there.
Yeah.
Now, if we can draft like Ivy from Purdue and we can pair him with Cade, yeah, then Killian comes to the bench. But is that such a terrible thing? That you have a really good player playing 25 minutes off the bench.
Right.
Like, I don't, well, really good player. I'm getting ahead of myself. He's had 8 good games, right? But like, he's showing the things we wanted to see. And I think it's weird. I don't think a lot of times players that young start to flash this early in their career and then just disappear. It doesn't happen
Right.
that often.
Right.
You're starting to see the talent show up.
And if he can defend, he can stay, like you said, worst case scenario, he comes off the bench. He's playing, he's some fouls to give, whatever, whatever. Yeah. But the point is, if I just feel like of all things, if you had to work on something, like, your defense is going to be really hard. You can't just like, I'm going to work on my defense and be better. It's like, you got that or you don't. But I feel like a 3-point shot, I feel like you can work on that.
You can work on
the skills. Like, give me that. I can't learn how to finish around the basket as much as I can shoot a 3 and learn to do that. So that's encouraging.
I think we both can name point guards that didn't have a 3-point shot and then they developed it over the course of their career. And they went from being really good point guards to phenomenal point guards. Mm-hmm. There's still point guards in the league right now that don't have a great 3-point shot, but they're still considered good point guards. De'Aaron Fox out in Sacramento can't shoot a 3, but he's still considered a good point guard. I think of guys like Jason Kidd, he couldn't shoot. And now,
I was just thinking, like, has Chris Paul been a good shooter really from?
Not from 3.
Yeah.
Like, he started to shoot it when he went to Phoenix a little bit more because they did more of that. Or when he went to Houston, I should say. He started shooting it more, and he's shooting it at a higher percentage now, but he's been mid-range Chris. Like, I mean, like, that's what he does. He plays good defense, he facilitates, and he's good from 20 feet. But the dude is money from 20 feet in. Like, he really is from 18 feet in. The dude is money. Those fadeaways by the baseline, he's money.
Well,
so Killian doesn't have that.
No, but we talked about Cade. Cade getting better only just helps everybody. So it's just
takes
cool
the pressure off.
Yep.
Yeah, and when you look at Killian, and this all started when they started bringing him off the bench, like maybe a month and a half ago since the All-Star break, maybe even a little before that. They're bringing him off the bench, and he was coming off that thumb injury, the ligament stuff, and he just couldn't get right from that. And so they started bringing him off the bench, and he started being more assertive on the bench. And then they brought him into the starting lineup more recently, like much more recently, and he still stayed assertive. And I think all of a sudden he realized, like, oh, I can do this. Like, you're seeing it. We talked in another video about how it clicked for Cade right after the All-Star break, and it's starting to click for Killian in the last couple weeks. It really is. It's starting to click. And I'm not saying they're going to be perfect all the time. They're young players. Like, they're going to have bad games. But, man, it's exciting to see. Now the question is, what do we have in the front court? And if Killian is balling out and he's starting to actually play and this coaching staff is confident, I think you're more likely to see a front court player drafted in the draft this year. Even if we get a top 3 pick, it might not be Ivy. It could be Banchero, Smith, whatever that looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll be all over that. Coming up, and who we're going to take. So yeah, hey, hope you enjoyed this video. Let us know what you think of Killian Hayes. He's man, just up and down career so far, but it's so early, and he's actually showing, like, at some point you have to start showing us. He's showing us. So let us know your thoughts, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.
See ya.